realistically, not all that long ago, one of the biggest barometers for successful recruiting in Stillwater was how many players on the roster had Texas offers, which was cool. But it's not in the same hemisphere as stepping over into SEC country and stealing a dude with Georgia, Oregon, and LSU offers.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at All Day of State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first entire year. Get your finances squared away today with Monarch Money. Meanwhile, we're going to shift into the foosball conversation of the recruiting variety. Naturally, I was panicking about how are we going to be able to out-recruit Kentucky for Ben Duncombe. And congratulations to Kentucky and Ben Duncombe and his family. The Kentucky Derby does have a lot of bullet-level horses, so I get it. But while all that was happening, the biggest shakeup of the day was the fact that Danny Beale III committed to Oklahoma State over the likes of Georgia, LSU, Oregon, USC, Ole Miss, and, of course, Arkansas. Mississippi State was heavily favored for a while in this conversational piece as well. And the last time I checked on 3, Danny Beale was like an 87%, 88% chance to land elsewhere outside of Oklahoma State. They gave us like a 1.8% chance to land the services of Danny Beale. And this really wasn't on a lot of people's radar, primarily because whenever Danny recently in the last few months put out his top 8, Oklahoma State was nowhere near it. His top 8 was Georgia, Oregon, OU, Mizzou, Arkansas, USC, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. So this staff, as we've discussed ad nauseum, I know, they have a large SEC and NFL pedigree. They recruit that way. They seemingly coach that way. And now we're seeing the fruits of that labor. This is a phenomenal get for Oklahoma State. Arguably one of the best recruits in Oklahoma State history. Definitely from a ratings perspective, one of the top defensive linemen that we've ever gotten at Oklahoma State. 92 overall with a 93.8 composite ranking on 247. The On3 even has him up there at 92 or 91.87 rating. On3 has him as the 16th best defensive lineman in America. 247 has him as the 18th best defensive lineman in the country. And while we're at it, this seems to be a wonderful time. I think we're going to have the capabilities to take over the in-state recruiting. While we're at it, why not grab the state right next to us, knowing that we play Arkansas again here in a couple seasons? This is a natural fit. And while all of us were likely concerned about this, Ben Duncombe and how are we going to out-recruit Kentucky and Kansas State, while all that was going on, Todd Grantham, Ryan Osborn, and Mike Gundy said, hold my beer and watch this. We're going to up the ante a little bit. We're going to raise the expectations. You remember when Ollie Gordon came to Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy mentioned that it's not often that we get players of that caliber that have Texas offers. And then you do a little bit of digging and you realize some of the greatest Cowboys of all time that have gone on to have successful NFL careers, most of them didn't have Texas offers. Some of the best players recently didn't necessarily have a bunch of that Texas, garnering desired outlook from a recruiting perspective. And we go in and land somebody like this. So to me, this accentuates the fact that Todd Grantham, Ryan Osborn, Cap Dede, they are recruiting at a completely different clip. I think you can throw Jules Montanar into this equation as well. Setting us up for what is likely one of the biggest recruiting seasons that we've had in recent memory. I think you could go back to 2011, 2012-ish days before we felt this confident in our capabilities to go out and land some of the top talent in the country. Hopefully, we're able to kind of wrap a bow on some of this, and we're able to go live Friday with some fun news. But I firmly believe that this staff is doing things at an unprecedented level in Stillwater, and I think this validates that. Whenever you get one of the top 115 players in the country, number one player in the state of Arkansas, that says something. If you were to able to land, I don't know, somebody like Evan Goodwin, also out of the state of Arkansas, who's one of the highest rated offensive linemen in America at 6'7", this would be one of the best recruiting classes in Oklahoma State history. And I do think that there's already some commits that are absolutely crucial to continuing this process for Oklahoma State in recruiting. And this is precisely what we needed. We have lost a couple dudes over the last week or so when it came to commits. But if you lose a couple 3-star dudes, all right, and you pick up somebody of this caliber, Danny Beale III legitimately has the capability of starting as a freshman. He could have potentially done that in the SEC. So for all of the years of us hoping and praying that we could out-recruit Texas, now this new staff has brought us to the precipice of being able to talk about out-recruiting Georgia and Oregon and LSU and Ole Miss and OU. This out-recruiting OU piece, hopefully it gets another massive injection later on this week. But this is setting us up for, I want to say, maybe an expectation. A large number of us expected things like this after Boone Pickens dumped all of the money that he did into Oklahoma State facilities and building that gorgeous stadium that doesn't get enough respect nationally, typically. And we won the Big 12 title, and then you go to the Fiesta Bowl, and you beat Andrew Luck, and you should have played for a national title that year, so much so that the BCS found to be corruptible, and there's the ability to manipulate some of the numbers, which is precisely why the BCS was dissolved. It was done with. Now, you could make the argument that the CFP isn't exactly a whole lot better, but at the same point in time, this playoff format does give a lot more capabilities for teams like Oklahoma State, Arizona State, BYU, Boise State to get more national recognition, because it's all about getting that visibility. The more games you play on the biggest stage possible, obviously that's going to be more eyeballs from the NFL, from scouts, executives, etc., which obviously is going to enhance your draft capabilities, or at least enhance your NIL capabilities while you're at school. Danny Beale III is one of the biggest recruits that I can recall in recent memory. He's legitimately one of the top 20-ish, probably, biggest recruits of all time. And again, I think this is a statement by Mike Gundy, Todd Grantham, Ryan Osborn, and this entire staff in regards to how incredible things can become in Stillwater if it's presented the right way. Of course, this isn't all about dollar bills. Does anybody out here have enough disillusionment to assume that we have more recruiting money than Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU, OU, Oregon? No. But obviously, we're competitive enough with the right sales pitch to the right guy at the right time to land the services of an individual like this. Kaydin Batman Jones was really the first individual in this recruiting class that caused all of us to say, wait, hold up. Things are changing. There's an outlook in Stillwater right now that is drastically different than years previous. I think you can make the argument, and it's pretty evident, that we were reluctant at times to go after some of these heavy hitters. And again, when somebody puts out their top 8 of the Oregons and Georgias and OUs and LSUs of the world, traditionally we would back off of those dudes. This is a different time. This is a different team. This is a different landscape. And now we need Danny Beale to get his Kaydin Batman Jones on and go recruit the tar of Evan Goodwin and become the guy, the vessel that allows Evan to see what Oklahoma State can be, what it can provide, and what he could do in Stillwater, America. Something is building here. Something is happening. This is pretty crazy. And I don't think that when we hired all of these coaches, after having a ton of continuity and consistency within the staff, right, all those coaches that were here for 14, 12, 17, 19 years, there was a little bit of reluctancy on whether this new staff is actually going to be able to go out and recruit the same way they did at Georgia or Florida, the same way they did at Mississippi State, the same way they were able to catapult that success into multiple NFL year careers. Well, the questions are starting to become answered. Oh, this ad. Yes, gentlemen, fellas, we got to talk it up here. And you know what? Ladies as well. If you're trying to get your man to have a little bit of extra capabilities in the bouncer and wow department, this is your opportunity. And we've all heard of Viagra. We've all heard of Cialis, and maybe there's some fellas out here that have tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is the next generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the blood, in the brain, and boost blood flow. Unlike the typical pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under the tongue and kicks in fast, on average in like 15 minutes. And the effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can stay confident and in control when that moment is right. It is your opportunity to be King Dingling in the bedroom. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch up. And you're going to love the completely online capabilities. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your front door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a ton of people feel more confident and present in the moment, in the bedroom, to be that dude, that King Ding-a-ling guy. Head on over to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege, all one word, and use the code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That is Rougiette.com, RUGIET/LockedOnCollege, all one word, and use the promo code LockedOnCollege, all one word, for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment, compounded drug, and permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Be that dude, and ladies, get that guy to become that dude once again in the bedroom. Get with Rougiette today to shake things up and spice up the life a bit. Now we get to shift gears to some more respect in the top 25 variety. And yes, this isn't, going to be something in regards to an outlook on the season or a top 25 like ESPN style of poll. But we mentioned previously how Boone Pickens Stadium is largely disrespected nationally because a lot of people don't get to make the trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma. I think you could say that the new Big 12 with the four corner schools coming in has allowed other schools from other fan bases to make that trip to Stillwater, Oklahoma. You can include Arkansas and the SEC fandom that they bring along into this equation. The intimacy of Boone Pickens Stadium, a.k.a. the fact that you're so close to the opposing bench that you can hear all of their conversations, you can hear all of the yelling and the screaming and the things said on the headset, so much so that you can use it to your advantage and give the players a hard time because they're essentially within arm's reach. That intimacy of Oklahoma State is something that we've always valued, regardless of what the stadium seating capacity or capabilities were. And whenever we enclosed, thanks to Boone Pickens, enclosed the stadium and we made it significantly bigger, that allowed the sound to reverberate off of Gallagher-Iba Arena, which makes it even more so rare. So if it's only got 60,000 people in it, you probably don't expect it to garner the same noise levels as some of these SEC programs. But thankfully, that has changed. Boone Pickens Stadium is finally getting some national respect. And I think EA Sports is a very good judge of this, primarily because they have representatives that travel all across the country and they go off of the sound decibel readings and things of that nature. And then they also take into consideration what the gameplay experience is going to be like, right? The controllers start shaking and all that whenever you go to these crazy environments. Oklahoma State is finally respected among this classification. So breaking into a top 25 for Boone Pickens Stadium is something that I think a lot of us have been waiting for, right? The conversation about the top stadiums in the Big 12 that didn't include Stillwater was absolutely maddening. Or we talked earlier about how that barometer for successful recruiting was how many dudes we had that had Texas offers, yet people tend to forget, right, that Oklahoma State for 15 years beat Texas like a redheaded stepchild and took them behind the woodshed and taught them a thing or two. For 15 years, Oklahoma State was absolutely dominant in the Texas series. They only won, four games in 15 years? It may not even been that many. It was a remarkable run that we didn't get enough respect for. So it's nice to see that after a tumultuous 3-9 season, and obviously there's going to be some apprehension in throwing Oklahoma State into the top 25 or even to some degree into the top 50 after a 3-9 season, after you fire essentially 99% of your coaching staff and you have to bring in all new coaches, a bunch of new players. A large portion of the roster is new. This is something that we've never done before. We've never fired all of our coaches for sure. And we've definitely not been able to be this aggressive on other fronts. So it's nice to see Boone Pickens Stadium finally getting the respect that it deserves. We're going to run through this top 25, and you let me know down in the comment section for all you fine folks out here on YouTube. Do you have disagreements? Because I do, and we're going to get to them in a second. But naturally, LSU Tiger Stadium is number one. Beaver Stadium, the whiteout stuff they do in Penn State is pretty phenomenal. Then you have Ohio Stadium, Sanford Stadium for Georgia, Alabama's Bear Bryant Stadium, Memorial Stadium for Clemson, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, a.k.a. the Swamp for Florida, Gaylord Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. Yeah, sure, I guess. Autzen Stadium in Oregon, which we get to go travel to week 2 this year, number 9. We're going to test that theory. Then you have Michigan, the Big House at number 10, followed by Kyle Field, home of the 12th man, Texas A&M. Number 12, Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. Maybe. It's possible. Then you have Darrell K. Royal Stadium, obviously for Texas. Number 14, Doak K. Campbell Stadium for Florida State. Then you have Camp Randall in Wisconsin. Okay, I can get that. South Carolina, number 16, Williams-Brice Stadium. That's a little surprising. Jordan-Hare Stadium, number 17 for Auburn. Husky Stadium, 18 for Washington. Okay, come on now. Kinnick Stadium, Iowa. I think largely I would agree. I think Iowa State fans might disagree. Then they have Rice-Eccles Stadium, number 20, home of Utah. Number 21, Notre Dame Stadium. Number 22, Carter Finley Stadium, North Carolina State. Then you have number 23 in America, Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater, America. Spartan Stadium for Michigan State, number 24. And Davis Wade Stadium, number 25, Mississippi State. So I had some dramatic pauses in there, hopefully for a little bit of an effect. I do not agree with Husky Stadium whatsoever. I just don't, right? And maybe I'm wrong. I haven't been there, so perhaps I definitely am wrong. But from what you see visually and historically speaking, that doesn't appear as though or sound like a difficult place to play. So again, correct me down in the comment section for all you fine folks out here on YouTube if I'm incorrect in that assessment. Kinnick Stadium, maybe. I do like, the hospital wave and things of that nature. But Iowa State seems to play better there or equally as good there as they do at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. So I think there's a little bit of a debunkable moment there. The biggest issue I have is Rice-Eccles Stadium. Being a tough environment for 80% of the Pac-12, what does that do? Right? Like what kind of fear does that instill in anybody? I don't know. In this previous season, didn't they go like 0-4, 0-5, something to that effect in Big 12 play at Rice-Eccles Stadium? I know they had a down year, and we can't talk, right? We had a down year as well. But, I don't agree with that whatsoever. If anything, you could put BYU Stadium in here. And they're about to even go through some renovations. Obviously, they just grabbed one of the top, not only quarterbacks in America, but one of the top players in America, a 5-star QB. That's a big deal. Love to see it for the Big 12. But they have, I guess you could call it a mini whiteout atmosphere. Does it have 100,000 seats? No. Is it going to look the same as Penn State's? Well, obviously not. But it's very, very comparable. And the scenery around it is significantly better than what they have going on at State College. And then number 22, Carter Finley Stadium. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. because I could be, but I have never seen nothing, heard nothing, read nothing that indicates that that's a hard place to play. I mean, I guess maybe from like an ACC perspective, I could see it, maybe, but no, I don't. I really don't. The most egregious of all of this list to me is NC State. Basketball, I'd imagine that's a pretty raucous environment, but you could put BYU on here. You could have put Virginia Tech on here before you put NC State. Yeah, again, correct me if I'm wrong. And this is not necessarily an area of expertise per se. Not that I have an overabundance of areas of expertise, but yeah, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about this list. Are there some teams you would maneuver? Are there some teams missing from this list? And where would you realistically put Oklahoma State? Because one of the biggest things on this list, I would imagine, is that out of all of these teams, we likely have the smallest attendance capacity, especially now that we've, enhanced some of the seating capabilities. A large portion of these have 90,000, 100,000, 107,000, 103,000 seats. And they have the iconic draw of the historic, horseshoe, big house. That's always a big draw for them. So I think we're probably the smallest seating capacity on this list, but that means we probably could be higher. You could make the argument we maybe should be higher. Now we get to talk about Monarch money. Again, getting your finances right is difficult because we've all checked our bank accounts before and noticed that there's a decent chunk missing. With Monarch money, you can grow your savings, you can help out your planning, you can be prepared better for big purchases. Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also able to build wealth now. If you share finances with someone, Monarch is going to help you stay on the same page, right? If you have a big financial goal that you're trying to reach, get more serious about it. Have more meaning to it with Monarch. We've all looked at our spending and been surprised about how fast it adds up. That's why taking control of it with somebody like Monarch Money is going to be massively beneficial for you. So take that control today with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. Use that code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. I can't speak or spell sometimes, for half off your first entire year. Head on over to monarchmoney.com today and get squared away for your finances. Batman has taken over Stillwater, Oklahoma, Gotham style. I wanted to say Grantham style, but he's on the offensive side of the ball. Therefore, we will stick with Gotham. Stillwater America has turned into Gotham for not only Kaydin Batman Jones, but also his dad. Kejuan has been instrumental in pushing a lot of conversational pieces to Stillwater, to Oklahoma State. And you saw it again today. Throughout all of the Danny Beale, the third sweepstakes, you saw a lot of tweets from KD and his family. Much like Landon Cleveland did a couple years ago, much like Jalen Beckley and Michael Riles teamed up this previous year to do, that is what Kaydin Batman Jones is doing right now in Stillwater. But I think it's even on a little bit more of an enhanced level because OU's going to kick themselves in the throat repeatedly for not landing this guy. If we do land the services of Taj Overton, the number one recruit in the state of Oklahoma, another top 25 defensive lineman all across the country, I think you can say successfully that Kaydin Batman Jones and his dad and his family and his crew might be one of the best recruiting avenues that Oklahoma State's had in forever. Again, Landon Cleveland was absolutely instrumental to keeping that class together. Jalen Beckley, Michael Riles were also extremely instrumental to keeping this previous class together. Now you have Kaydin Batman Jones in the fold, and all of a sudden, right, the coaching acumen upticks. Their aggressiveness in recruiting takes a massive step forward. But there's no denying that there are still potentially some other dudes that Kaydin is 100% invested in trying to get to Stillwater. And if you ask his dad, he's going to be pretty open, upfront, and honest with you. I want my son to love his experience in Stillwater. I want Oklahoma State to be successful. I want my son to be able to play in the CFP multiple times while he's in Stillwater. In order for that to be accomplished, he's got to be surrounded with a crud ton of talent. Not necessarily that we are lacking talent. Well, I don't think we are, especially whenever you look at the Shindavian Bradleys and the J.K. Johnsons of the world that been able to get in the transfer portal. But it hits different when it's the high school recruiting, because that's probably an area that we've had some levels of neglect in. So OU, if Taj Overton decides to become an Oklahoma State Cowboy, which would be one of the biggest gets of all time. Like we've grabbed the number 2, number 3, number 4 ranked players in the state of Oklahoma fairly often, but we've never grabbed the number 1 ranked player in the state. And then coincidentally, you have the top running back in the state. And then you have Trey McLaughlin from Bixby, one of the best DBs in the state. Then you have Aiden Martin from Berry Hill, Oklahoma. You have Kaydin Carter Langendorfer coming over from Owasso. Like, this is pretty crazy. And now you have Jeremy Smith over doing the daggone thing, a Broken Arrow. So I don't think that it's a far reach to assume that we might have some BA Tigers in the fold here before too long as well. There's a ton of individuals that are pushing for the further, future success of Oklahoma State, especially in the recruiting department. And we have to all give thanks to Kaydin Batman Jones and his dad and his crew, because this might end up being the most important recruiting class that we've had since 2011, 2012. The ability to capitalize off of everything that Boone Pickens has provided for Oklahoma State might be taking shape now. And it might be because of guys like Kaydin Batman Jones. You have to have it. We see it all the time. Whenever a big name recruit like consensus 4-star, 5-star level dude goes to anywhere in the country, it's typically not long after that he's inviting X, Y, and Z player. Hey, I know you're committed to Georgia, but you should come check out what's happening in Stillwater or whatever university. Players recruit players constantly. You go back to some of these tampering conversations. Did that used to happen a lot? Yes. But nowadays, most of these players know each other from the 7-on-7 circuit or college stops or recruiting trips. So they have a little bit of a connection. That's not going to change. It's not going to change at all. If anything, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get wider. It's going to get crazier. So you need these individuals to be able to accentuate what the coach is saying. Hey, what Coach Grantham is saying, what Coach Gundy is saying, what Coach Osborn, Coach Meacham, whatever, what they are saying is legitimate. Like, let me tell you, I've been here. I've visited all these places. I've heard all of these conversations. And what is happening right now in Stillwater is significantly different. This is an opportunity for people to create their own path, to make their own way. And doing it at somewhere like Oklahoma State does mean more. It is what it is. If you go to Georgia, Oregon, you're expected to go to the CFP. You're expected to play for national titles. That happening in Stillwater, it changes things forever for anybody that helps that particular roster reach those levels. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike it if you didn't. That's okay, too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast with people out there, you know what you do. Hit the stars. Leave a review. All right, y'all. Later, taters.